Before cell phones, there were car phones.
Good morning, Mr. Cardle. How did the market open?
In fact, the original car phone weighed about 80 pounds. In 1947, an engineer at Bell Labs envisioned a futuristic phone network for their car phones. A call would bounce uninterrupted between cells of coverage. At the time, the technology and the infrastructure for this did not exist, but it soon would. The car phones quickly became popular despite their limitations. Only a limited number of people could use the service at a time, which meant 5 to 10 year waiting lists began to form. And existing customers could sometimes wait up to 30 minutes to place a call. But then, in 1973, Motorola engineer Martin Cooper showed what the future would look like, the Dynatac 8000X. Based on Bell's cell network concept, it was the world's first handheld cell phone. 10 years and a $100 million investment later, Motorola finally released the phone to the public.
I'd like to order a large pizza with mushrooms, anchovies, and the hottest peppers you can find.
The decade-long delay was caused by the need to build the cellular infrastructure the phone required to operate. The phone took 10 hours to charge, lasted 35 minutes, and cost $3,995, which would be about $10,000 today.
Industry watchers say there are only a few thousand cellular phones in use right now, but that number is expected to grow considerably within the next few years during the cellular revolution.
Ahead of its time, the IBM Simon could be considered the world's first smartphone, the world's first touchscreen phone, and the first phone to have software apps. It cost around $1,099 new, which would be around $1,800 today.
Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. But what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen. A giant screen.
Just 1 month after one of the most popular BlackBerry devices was released, the original iPhone hit shelves nationwide. It would go on to sell more than 6 million units, with new models introduced every year.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, the ShOUT show. Hope you're having an amazing Thursday. Of course, you know what today is, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, today is Throwback Thursday, and I said, man, I got a special throwback for you today. Life before cell phones. As I was watching that clip, I just had to cut it off. You know why? I was getting nauseated. I was getting sick to my stomach, sick to my core. Remembering the old days when we made it without cell phones. Not for a day, not for an hour, because there were no cell phones. And we had general, authentic communication. So I figured today, I'm going to throw back, brothers and sisters. Here's my cell phone. I'm not going to be a hypocrite like I got rid of it. No, I need it. Besides, if I get rid of it, I still got to pay on it. You know why? Because I'm on a plan. All right, brothers and sisters, cell phone aside. Put your cell phone to the side. We're going to talk about life before cell phones. Again, that's life See how I do life? See how it sounds so light? There were no calling plans. Didn't have to worry about apps. Oh my gosh, I need to update my OS. I didn't have to do any of that. While I make light of it, brothers and sisters, it is serious because that cell phone changed communication for the rest of our lives. That cell phone, in tandem with the computer, it made us different people. It made us literally a society that is addicted to artificial means of communication. I'm not just talking about the cell phone. I'm talking about everything else that happened. The social media, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, your Twitter, your TikTok. Every 15 minutes they're coming out with some way through communication, through your phone, to get you addicted. We're going to be talking about it in a minute. So first of all, I want to be, let me be cordial. If you're coming to the show for the first time, thank you for coming. This is a shout out show. And if you think we do these things every show, you doggone right. And it's daily. That means we do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Think about it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Okay, listen. I'm telling everybody, this topic is meaningful. Why? Because I'm a Generation Xer. No, I'm Generation X. I'm right on that cup, It's certain age, cutoff is 56. I'm 54. It's important because in my space, and this is no disrespect to baby boomers, in my space, I think I saw technology just rolling over. It seemed like every month, every 6 months, we were getting some type of new technology. Now, before I get too far gone in the game, again, let me invite anybody who's coming to the show for the first time. The rules are simple. Don't be a wallflower. Get involved. Get in with the crew. Get in the comment section. Introduce yourself. Represent. You know what I'm saying? Communicate. That's what I'm saying. Communicate like we used to do. Get in that section. And when you get in that section, say who you are. Wish somebody a good day. Wish them a blessing. Give them a slams. Whatever you want to do, I'm going to put it on the screen. That's called a shout out. Now, the shout out is separate from all the things you heard about, you just saw in terms of cell phones and iPhones and Nokias and flip phones, because a shout out is personal. It means I want you to know that I'm thinking about you and I'm acknowledging whatever it is you're doing, usually in a positive way. Okay, so that's the thing. And as well, if you don't mind, we're trying to get to 151 subscriptions. So if you don't mind, on the way in, just click that little subscription button. If you're on YouTube, click the subscription button, the notification button. You get a little bell. That way you know when the show is coming on. And if you don't know what time the show is coming on, I'm going to give it to you. 3 p.m. on the West Coast, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. All right? Cool. So you know where we are. Let me let you know how this show works. I'm the host. This is my platform, but it's not my platform. I'm just the host. There are people on here who make the platform what it is every day. They're known as the Shout Out Soldiers. They're known as the Shout Out Family. Now, a lot of them are already here. Some of them will come late because they're working. But I'm going to tell you something. They come, and they come religiously, and I thank them for that. What we have here on the Shout Out Show is a community. A community. Not an IG thing. We have a community. And we talk about things. And we know about each other. And we care about each other. And that thing, all I'm saying is we want you to be a part of it. So, hop on in. I can't delay though. This section of the show is called Stars in the Building. This is where I highlight everybody's in the comment section. My shout out show family, my shout out show soldiers. If you don't know, you're about to find out. First off, brothers and sisters, I want to give a shout out to Sister Reed. Sister Lorraine, we hope you're doing well. Hope you're feeling better. She has been down and she's been soldiering, trying to beat this virus. Alhamdulillah, it wasn't coronavirus. But you know what? A virus is a virus. And if it makes you dehydrated, Sister Ree, you know what? Take a break. Take a break. Let us order you some food on Uber Eats or whatever you got to do. But get yourself back to health. Remember, all the Muslims say this. I'm going to say it to you. Your body has rights. Think it don't, it will take liberties. All right. So basically I'm saying, I'm happy you're feeling better, but I want you to feel great. So let me tell you who else is on the show. We have Sister Satana Whitfield, who hides behind this thing as permissible laughter. No, she is, brothers and sisters, the consultant producer for the Shout Out Show. Very talented, a project manager, and makes sure things happen on the show and off the show. This is not a one-man operation. There are people and mechanisms to make this thing roll. And I'm just saying, even Sister Reed, though she's sick, she makes sure I have food that I eat and I stay in good shape. I eat healthy stuff with Sister Reed. I leave Wendy's alone. And I leave McDonald's. I won't leave McDonald's alone, I ain't gonna lie. But I leave Wendy's alone, at least here in Texas. But she comes up with great dishes, and we're gonna have a section for her when she's feeling better. We're gonna do a section called Reed's Kitchen. We're working on it right now. Sister Aika, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. She's giving salams all the way from Indonesia, all the way from Jakarta. Her town is Depok. Big shout out to Sister Aika, who she's getting in gear for Ramadan. She's fasting. I think she did her fast today, so she's rolling along, brothers and sisters. Big ups. And when you're fasting, make sure you pray for all of us, Sister Aika. And my sister, all the way from across the pond, Sister Jasmine Fruits, all the way from the UK. She puts in work with Islamic Help, a charity, and she's been doing it for years. And it's not that she's been doing this for years. She's been doing it well and consistently with good effect, good purpose, and good intent. And we, brothers and sisters, need to celebrate her for doing that. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, Queen? This is Sister Jamisa, my little sister, my clothes designer, my rapper, a fellow creative. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Peace and blessings to you and the babies, and we hope that you're doing well. Thank you for coming out and supporting this platform. And inshallah, moving forward, we can support your platform, because I believe we want to have some of your music on the show. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My main man, Altaf Rashid, all the way in the building from Toronto. He comes here, brothers and sisters. He needs no immigration. He needs no passport. He needs no plane. He doesn't have to go through security. He comes here every day, brothers and sisters. I can't remember the day he wasn't here. But he's a shout-out show soldiers. I got to make it like a shout-out Hall of Fame. That's what I got to do. I got to make a shout-out Hall of Fame with everybody's picture. Because we had a great show on our 300th episode, which will go down potentially as one of the best shows outside of the Mother's Day show. One of the best shows we ever had. Just people on talking, expressing. We didn't get everybody on the show, but we got a lot of people on the show. And I mean, I'm here to tell you, it was a great opportunity. And Sister Sultana, I do have the copy of that, so everybody in the show needs to get their copy of the 300th episode. All right. Look at Sister Jamise. I miss those days without cell phones. I miss them too. Because when you didn't have a cell phone, you know what you had to have? You know what you had to have? You had to have character. You had to have game. And you know what I remember about the days with no cell phones, brothers and sisters? This is no joke. You listen to your elders. You listen to your elders. And things follow the chain of command in terms of information. Like you couldn't just start a rumor. You just couldn't throw it out there because you have people in the neighborhood who would check you. And there'd be a chain of command who you talk to, when you talk to. Everybody remember the rules of the phone? You remember you were young and you got that first thrill. Somebody called your, wait for it, your house. Not cell phone. They called your house. And the phone was either in the kitchen, one in the bedroom, one in the kitchen. Later on, everybody got a phone in the room, a phone jack. No, it was one in the bedroom, one in the kitchen. The bedroom was for after hours, the kitchen for the rest of the day. That's the way it was in my house. That's the way it was in my grandmother's house. Probably a lot of your houses. Now, I'm saying this because it was about quality control. Quality control meant that you weren't going to spend all your time on the phone. I remember one day I got a phone call. Now, I knew the call was coming. I had anticipated the call. It was a young lady. Let's just call it. I was in the 4th grade. It was a young lady. You know you corny in the 4th grade when you fix your hair because a girl is going to call you. It wasn't even FaceTiming. My dad came home early from work. The phone rang, and look at this look of terror on my face. And he answered the phone, and it wasn't somebody he knew or an adult. I'm here to tell you, I was apologizing all the next day because that call ain't go through. And here's the reason why. People didn't call your house, particularly when you're a child. People didn't call your house unless they knew the parents of that child. Think about that. You don't call the house unless I know who you're connecting to. And that probably says that early in my young career, in my young life, in elementary years, primary years, my father was following Sunnah. Of course, there were technologies with the phone back then. Let's say act like, the cell phone was a thing. There were advances with the phone. But there were not advances whereby you could have remote access to communication. Back in the day, everybody knows when you got those teenage years, what do you want to do? You want to have a phone call with your friend, your buddies. That's when you talk out loud. Hey, what's up? And it was a young lady or a young fella. That's me. Hey, but my point is, there was a point of departure and there was a point of decorum. The problem about cell phones, brothers and sisters, is that I'm very clear on the fact that the cell phone was not meant to be just a mode of communication. The cell phone that was developed, it was meant to be in your hand and not leave your hand. Let me say it again. Be in your hand and not leave your hand. Let me tell y'all something. I've lost a lot of cell phones in my life. I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm not a keep it in your hand guy. I'm going to keep it in your pocket, but I'm not a keep it in your hand guy. A lot of us aren't. We didn't grow up that way. And it's not that we reject technology. It's just the fact that we didn't grow up that way. I didn't see my mom and dad with a phone in their hand all the time. I didn't see my grandfather with a phone. Only time my grandfather, when he got to a certain age, he talked to people at his age. Hear me now. He talked to people at his age in his family. That means a lot because it doesn't happen now. You see, communication now is set by anybody can have it. There are no rules. The only rule is whether you pay your bill or not. They have rules about, of course, the towers and things like that, but there's no space in there about decorum on the phone. I remember communications back in the day as a Generation Xer, and that communication had a lot to do with respect. If you called to check on somebody, it usually meant it was a precursor that you would have to go do real FaceTime. Everybody remember the original call waiting? When somebody called, you called somebody and the phone was busy, you'd have to wait a call again. That was your call waiting. What was that? We're gonna have a two-way call, three-way call. You ain't have that. You call somebody, and whatever it is you said to that person, you would relay it to the next person. And that would tide you over. Now, this is not a thing, I'm not a banging out about technology, but I will say, the one thing that happened in that clip that I think we all need to pay attention to is when they were trying to build the whole idea for cell phones or wireless or whatever, they didn't have the infrastructure. They didn't have the infrastructure. And when the infrastructure was mainly implemented, it was a legitimacy outside of human conduct, human mercy, human compassion. It was away from those things. That infrastructure was strictly about finances. Now, any fiduciary responsibility had to do with how much money was going to be made. And we find things we talked about yesterday about give God the glory, the art of giving God the glory. The telephone, the wireless telephone, that cell phone, brothers and sisters, is a major impediment. It breaks a rule. It breaks a rule. And I'm not saying it's some invention of the devil. I'm like, no. But it played to some of our lower base desires. When we talked about purification of the heart, what are the two things I said that are detrimental to the heart? One, corruption of knowledge, and two, corruption of intent. Brothers and sisters, the cell phone fell in both of those categories. Who were the first dudes to really get cell phones? And I want to point out, I love the scene with the car phone where you plug in the car phone and stuff like that. I saw that. But who do we come to idolize who had the cell phones, that big Motorola, that big wide Motorola thing? And who was it? It was the drug dealers. And I can tell you this. The drug dealers that I saw that had the phones, they were like gods. They were like gods. They would tell guys to go to your house and I'm going to call you. And we would sit around in amazement like, what kind of trickery is this? What kind of sorcery is this? And in the middle of all this indignation, we were like, I want one though. Let me give some perspective. All right, Jamisa, thank you, sister. Samir, you know what I'm talking about. Has a global village gotten out of control? No, I'm not sure, Samir. There are a lot of people who understand the importance of the global village. They balance out a lot of stuff that we see, but it has to be redefined. Because the people who are coming into the global village are not coming in with, like I said, the specific nomenclature that we had as Generation Xers or Zers or things like that. Ahmed's right. We even abuse pagers. I abuse a pager. Before you could call somebody on a pager, you had a touch tone. I mean, brothers and sisters, look. There was a time that you would go to a place called a gas station and you would take coins called quarters, put it in the phone, and you would call people. It's called a payphone. When's the last time you saw a payphone? Exactly. 3 years ago, I called somebody on a payphone just to be funny. They didn't believe me. They so didn't disbelieve me. They got in their car, drove to where I was, stayed at the payphone, and we took pictures at the payphone. And we would take it to young kids and go, do you know what that is? And they go, I have no idea. Look at Ahmed. By the way, I'm watching you on my phone right now. That's my point, Ahmed. That's my point. Sultana, now you go to gas station for Wi-Fi. No, Sultana, you go to the gas station for Wi-Fi. Astaghfirullah. I'm sorry, folks. That's an inside joke. But listen, think about that. Think about the complexity. I remember when I got my first. No, I borrowed somebody's cell phone for a gig in Eau Claire. It was in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Now, this is how you used to hustle back in the day when you had these one-nighters. Number one, I had totaled my truck. I moved to California. I totaled my Isuzu Trooper. It was money green. I missed that car. I totaled it. I went out. I came back to Wisconsin. I tried to pick up any gigs I could. A woman gave me a gig. It was in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I didn't have a car. I took the bus there. And my friend at the time let me borrow this cell phone, and basically I called when I got in town to let people know I was, and that's how I figured out how the gig was. In the story, it wound up well. But my point, brothers and sisters, it was weird calling in the middle of someplace or being on a bus. And as much as it was intriguing, like, wow, this is great technology, it scared me. It scared me. He goes, now, and I think we ought to, I don't want to get to a point where it's too heavy. I don't want to do that. I understand technology is there for a reason. And I'm not saying I'm resistant to technology. I'm saying that sometimes, though, you got to check technology. You got to check technology. My mom had a rule. I got to break the rule in my grandmother's house. But my mom had a rule when we were growing up that when she fixed dinner, listen to this. When she fixed dinner and we sat down at the dinner table, we didn't answer the phone, and there was no television. We didn't answer the phone, and there was no television. Now, my grandma's house, we got to watch TV while we ate, but that was my grandmother's house. But I realized the genius of it now. The genius of that whole thing was recognizing infrastructure, and that infrastructure gave us discipline. I now worry about kids in school who bring phones to school. We used to worry about kids that bought contraband in school, kids that bought weapons to school. The phone is just as deadly as the gun these days. And when we begin to really flesh this thing out, and I'm just saying, just think about it. Just the idea of the damage that a phone can do is one of the scariest things in the world. The idea that you can have communication, it doesn't have to be checked. There's no regulation really outside of, the technology that produces the phone. There's no check on intent. There's no check on knowledge. I'm involved in a situation right now where people use technology to mess up an event. And it's not the technology. Of course, it's the people behind the technology. But my point is, that wasn't the purpose for the communication in the first place. When's the last time any of you sat down and had a conversation with somebody for 45 minutes to an hour, not using a cell phone? Or if you use a cell phone, it was strictly for communication. Strictly for communication. Like, I'm one of the guys, brothers and sisters, I keep a landline. You know why I keep a landline? Because if the world ends, I can still go to this touch tone phone and make calls. We had a deep freeze down in Texas. You know how many people damn near froze to death trying to keep their phones charged? When that jack was right there. Click. Boom. Same thing I'm talking about. But okay. I'm being a little redundant here because I'm trying to make a point that's been made to me. And that point is, we have to look at intentionality. There's a great documentary. It's called The Corporation. In fact, it was referred to me by no other than Dave Chappelle in a conversation we had. It was called The Corporation. And The Corporation worked on this whole idea of externality. Let me tell you what externality means. Of course, there's opportunity cost. Opportunity cost means for me to do A, I can't do B. That's simple. But externality is for me to, if I do A and it means I have to totally disregard B to get to C, then I do it. Meaning the B, brothers and sisters, that's the externality. That's the cost that we're willing to subsume to do what we want to do. Case in point, I want to build a housing. Well, there are people in there where I want to build. Maybe it's dilapidated housing. Who knows what it is? But for me to build what I want to build, I have to tear down that housing. Now, here's the deal. Those people losing where they live, those people having to move, those people having hardships, that's an externality. So these days, brothers and sisters, I want us to all be careful, myself included, that we don't become externalities to cell phones. Because it's no longer a cell phone. This is your life. This is your pictures. This is your quote of the day. I know when to pray off my cell phone, brothers and sisters. I do my banking on my cell phone. I do PayPal on cell phone. I do Zelle on cell phone. And when I can't get a call through, I use WhatsApp. And then I use the WhatsApp phone. And when I'm finished with the WhatsApp, then I text somebody. I know I'm not telling on myself. I know I'm not the only one. But my point, brothers and sisters, is we just need to be careful. We as leaders coming out of Generation X, we know a lot more technology than our mothers and our fathers. Therefore, our fiduciary responsibility is a lot bigger to tell our children, to tell our children's children that there was a way one time, and there was a way back in the day that we communicated. And that communicated had certain characteristics. A, it had patience. B, it had integrity. C, it had form. And D, it had function. So, listen, that's all I wanted to say. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. I'm looking forward to our sponsor working with us through Ramadan. I have to talk with you. Listen, as much as we talk about all this great stuff, brothers and sisters, I'm going to throw this out, okay? What I'm going to throw out is this. Communication is extremely important, and we don't want to waste it. And let me throw this out. I'll talk saying they're getting rid of the landlines now, too. See how they're trying to kill us. I'm sorry, brother. I lost my train of thought. Alto, thank you. Listen, if you guys are interested about financial advice, not even financial advice, I say financial strategies, financial literacy, I want you to go to www.befinanciallyindependent.com. Again, that's www.befinanciallyindependent.com. If you don't want to do that, go old school. Pick up the phone. Call 1-800-679-3175. Again, that's 1-800-679-3175. And a person will actually pick up the phone. It won't be an automated voice. It'll be the Harriet Tubman of financial advising. She's trying to lead people out of the debt, out of the slavery of debt. Miss Maxine B. Cade, who is the sponsor on our show. I appreciate you, Miss Cade, for supporting us for the last couple months. We need it. And I promise you I'm going to bring her on the show to talk about not just where your money goes. You know what? Listen, all of us work hard for our money. We work hard for the dollar. Let's call it what it is. But here's the deal. You work hard for that dollar, but a lot of times we don't make that dollar work hard for us. And we got to have that conversation. So I'm going to get ready to get off here. I'll give the last word to none other than my mother. Parents need to capture their family's customs that have been overtaken by things. Use technology, not let it control the family. Well, you know, my mom has set a very powerful example of not using technology. My mom got 172 cell phones. Each of them have 4 minutes on them, and she doesn't use them. They're all cut off. I'm sorry, Ma. It's funny. No, you know what it is? My mother makes me talk to her in a way that's meaningful to her and doesn't pull her out of her culture. And now, you know what? I appreciate it. The same when I was a kid, when my grandmother would say, check this out. Go up the hill and sit with Miss Hill. Go up the street and sit with Miss Hill. You know what sitting was? That means you have to sit with another elder. Miss Hill, you may have heard this story before. She had a massive stroke. She couldn't talk. But my grandmother said she can't talk, but she can communicate. Big up to you, Isabella Moss. You're 100% right. So listen, I'm on a bounce. You guys have been amazing. Oh, okay, Satana, you're taking shots. All right, brothers and sisters, I am holding on to technology. For you who know me very well, yes, I still do have an AOL account. And as long as I have minutes on that little CD, I'm going to keep it. Thank you so much. You guys been great. Inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow on Friday Funnies. If you're having a so-so day, work on it. So let's have a better day tomorrow. Heading into Juma for myself. Appreciate you. Thank you for hearing me out. I'm Preacher Moss. This is a shout-out show. Be careful, be blessed, and we'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Stay off them cell phones. Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your shout out show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next shout out show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from Tarif Altar. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out TarifAltar.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.